Hello, you welcome to this news hour. I am Barbara Jonathan. We're broadcasting from Cameroon's economic capital, Douala. In our top stories in this edition of the 6 p.m. primetime newscast on Equinoxe television, a student is killed in disturbing circumstances in Bafoussam West region of the Republic of Cameroon. The student was killed by unidentified attackers. Will bring into you greater details in this edition of the 6 p.m. newscast on Equinoxe television. The people of the Kupe Maninguba division, southwest region of the Republic of Cameroon, are lamenting and sending distress calls to the administration of a plethora of underdevelopment challenges affecting that part of the country. One of the biggest problems in that part of the country is the deplorable state of roads, and we're going to be showing you just what's the situation over there in this edition of the 6 p.m. newscast. And the spokesperson of Dr. Goodluck Jonathan has dismissed as fake information circulating that the former president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria will go in for the presidential election next year. Thank you for joining us at this news. We begin in Bafoussam, capital of the West region of the Republic of Cameroon, where a student has been killed in very disturbing circumstances. The student was killed on the way back home by unidentified attackers, and the situation remains unclear. The purpose and why the attackers killed the students, but it is reported that they tried to seize the student's phone to no avail and finally took away the life of the student, as we hear in this report by Malaglory.
The 18-year-old boy was attacked and stabbed to death by unidentified men on this isolated track. Xavier Gouda, a lower seat student of Government High School Bafoussam, was returning from school when he unfortunately fell in the hands of the assassins. He constantly has transport fare to school. Now I want to understand that he took that path maybe because he wanted to reach home a little bit late. We often advise them not to use that path because there are often cases of children being aggressed on that road. There are people whose phones and other materials have been seized on this same road. Locals say he was stabbed and abandoned by the murderers on the spot. Abandoned to his fate, Xavier Gouda managed to crawl across the road where he was saved by car repairers. He was still conscious when we saw him crawling out of the bush. He lost consciousness when he fell on the middle of the road. That was when we immediately took him to the hospital. He was immediately taken to the hospital, but unfortunately, the health specialist could not save him. When he got here, he was already given up. He was seriously bleeding. Xavier Gouda is known for his assiduity by his teachers and classmates. He as well participated in a class test this Tuesday morning, but unfortunately will never be part of the final year exams. The student leaves behind a family in pain.
And now tracking down the killers of the low-seat student of Government Bilingual High School Bafoussam in the west region of the country. And of course that this is one of the latest incidents recorded in the Republic of Cameroon as far as insecurity is concerned. It is a major problem in the country, from big cities to the hinterlands. The problem of insecurity is a serious threat to human life. Now to Nyasoso in the Tombel subdivision, southwest region of the Republic of Cameroon, the people are complaining, sending distress calls to the administration over the consequences of underdevelopment challenges on life in that part of the southwest region of the country. One of the major problems there is the deplorable state of roads. Immaculate Frogwe has more.
Inadequate electricity supply, untarred roads and dilapidated structures are some of the ordeals faced by the population of Nyasoso in the southwest region. The state of roads gets even worse during the rainy season, hampering circulation.
We are facing a lot of difficulties. The road itself to reach Nyasoso here is a problem. Pregnant women, can you imagine pregnant women? They climb on top of the bike when they are in labor to reach right in the hospital. So it's very difficult for them.
Despite huge harvests, transporting the crops from the farm to markets is a major problem. Some farmers on several locations were forced to allow their crops to rot in farms as a result of poor state of farm-to-market routes, which has resulted to an increase in transportation cost.
70% of Nyasoso population is made up of farmers. People leave from Douala to come and buy especially plantains and cocoyams. They don't sell the produce normally, I mean in a price that is encouraging because of the roads. So a lot of buyers come here and deceive the farmers.
The over 5-year-old armed conflict equally accounts for the slow pace of development initiatives.
This has been compounded by the past 4-5 years of the social unrest that you know. People ran away from the village.
The local population are calling on the government and elites to intervene in order to make Nyasoso in particular and Tombel subdivision in general great.
And the rest of the Kupe Maninkuba division in the southwest region of the country suffering from the same problem of bad roads. And we're going to show you the state of National Road number 16, the section linking Lum in the Mongo division littoral region of the country and Kumba in the Meme division southwest region. That road is in a very bad state, and with the approaching rainy season, the people are expressing concerns and fears of a terrible situation on that section of National Road number 16. Innocent Aze has more.
National Road number 16, as they are calling it, just for name, we are having all poto.
This is how traveling on the National Road number 16, notably from Lum in the Mungo division, littoral region to Kumba in the Meme division, southwest region of President Paul Biya's country is. Pains endured by road users for many years.
Since as I know this road, be it in 1952.
I know this road since 1952.
All we get.
It was tarred and circulation was very flexible.
But since I saw the road comes, it can spoil everything. So all business, everything down.
Since existence of the current regime, this Lum Kumba road has been a shadow of itself.
The vehicles that were passing through this way, they are no more passing again. They are passing but Lum, Douala, Boya to Kumba. That's how the vehicles are found. Instead taking the long road instead of this shortcut.
Road users now fear to venture on it.
And Kumba will take me 30 minutes, but not even 3 hours. We don't have to reach for Kumba. It's about 11 years we have not yet passed into that road, so the road is too bad. There's too much more. The partner will be suffering too much to pass that the road.
Now, even in locks, they cannot even pass through the road again because the road is too bad.
Motorbike transportation remains the most suitable and desirable along this length of the National Road number 16.
There's nothing like a vehicle. Where will you say vehicle? Even have a crops, only bike. Yeah, why want to deliver? Only bike. Anything here, our own vehicle that we have here is bike.
Transport fare has multiplied at an alarming rate.
At first, when the road was good, we were paying 500 francs a Tamlu. But now it's 4,000, 5,000.
Kumba, Ebonji 4,000, Kumba Tombe 5,000, Kumba Lum 6,000.
As a consequence, they, motorbike riders, cannot harvest enough income. Business activities have equally been crippled by this phenomenon.
When road is passing, it's bringing more development. People travel, we sell, businesses, every place is booming, but now no way. At first, businesses were moving slowly and was moving well. Everybody enjoyed to do business. But now we cannot do business now again because there's no way, no movement, everything is down. As I'm even making this my chicken, I was at times making about 10 chicken per day, 8 or 9. But now I'm not even able to sell 2. Even on market days, at like Saturdays like this, I'm unable to sell 2.
Principal challenges of these sick roads are farmers who at all costs need to evacuate their farm produce from their farms to markets.
There's no way. More than 10 years we haven't seen the caterpillar to grade the road. This is not. Here you cannot do anything. We have food, we have plantain, we have cocoa, we have everything, but we cannot bring them out from the village to the town.
These exasperated Cameroonians implore the Yaoundé government to scrupulously come to their aid. That is, ensure reconstruction of this Lum-Kumba stretch of road so as to relieve road users, revamp business and farming activities.
And in the report coming up next, for me, Armstrong Sander is going to show us another side of the ugly coin called the Lum-Kumba Road. His report.
The payment of social security contributions is set to be behind the daggers drawn by the National Social Insurance, the CMPS and local councils in Cameroon, a situation which has been qualified by many as an open war as recently manifested by the sealing of some offices within the Yaoundé 7 council chambers.
Toutes les communes du Cameroun.
The Mayor Augustin Tamba of the Yaoundé 7 Council, who doubles as the national president of the United Councils and Cities of Cameroon, says the problem is not unique to Yaoundé 7.
Je voudrais d'ailleurs dire que nous avons.
He says the situation is so serious given that several councils in the country have their account sealed. Most of the councils, he says, are not up to date with their social security contributions at the level of the CNPS for many reasons. Using his Yaoundé 7 council example, the mayor says he, like most of his colleagues, inherited huge debts from their predecessors.
Il y en a qui ont trouvé 500 millions de dettes.
There are colleagues who inherited over 500 million council debts, but will not go telling the population that they have been busy repaying. I inherited debts accumulated from as far back as 2007, and I have been handling everything assiduously until recently when I had a rebellious municipal treasurer. Let me also say that over 65% of councils in Cameroon witnessed changes with the coming of new officials who are obviously doing their best to reduce the burden inherited from their predecessors. Another challenge is the difficulty faced by most mayors in operating smoothly with their municipal treasurers, and Augustin Tamba says the law unfortunately gives no pass to the mayor to compel a municipal treasurer to act or pay. This legal disposition, which he says is necessary, should also go as far as controlling incumbent mayors against accumulating huge debts prior to their departure. The UCCC president says the council, like the state, should also be considered to benefit from debt relief programs.
C'est une discussion que nous faisons avec le gouvernement.
That was for me, Armstrong Sander, rather reporting there on councils in Cameroon and the National Social Insurance who are at daggers drawn over the non-payment of social security contributions. Now we're going to talk about something else. We'll come back to the other side of the Kumba Road in a subsequent news edition. We're going over to Marwa in the Damawa in the north region of the Republic of Cameroon, where the Prime Minister and Head of Government, Chief Dr. Joseph John Guti, has inaugurated the regional hospital center in that part of the country, and the inauguration took place today. And of course, the Prime Minister inaugurated that health amenity situated in Bukli in the Benue subdivision, and the hospital covers a surface area of 15 hectares and of course 14,000 meters square, a surface area of 14,000 meters square that is exploited by this hospital, and the rest of the 50 hectares will be exploited later. As of now, the structure inaugurated by the Prime Minister, including 14 buildings harboring the administrative services, the clinical unit, the medical techniques unit, and the hospitalization halls, covers the surface area of 14,000 meters square, and that is a major health amenity established in Garwa in the north region of the country within the 3-year emergency plan of the head of state, President Paul Biya. And of course, we're going to be bringing to you greater details of that event or that health amenity established in Garwa in the north region of the country in our subsequent news editions. CEMAC commissioners say the sub-region is facing unfair competition at the level of its common market, especially in the insurance and hydrocarbons sector. They are currently meeting in Douala within the framework of the 6th session of the CEMAC Community Competition, the Competition Council. And of course, we're going to be bringing to you details in this report compiled for me and Sonsanda.
Since in Cameroon's economic capital city, Douala, is to brainstorm and find solutions to the challenges of the CEMAC common market. The current and major challenges facing the common market, according to CEMAC commissioners, include an unfair competition in the hydrocarbon sector, the insurance sector, and the audiovisual sector.
De la concurrence de la CEMAC.
Noel Leopold Boomsong, President of the Community Competition Council of the CEMAC sub-region, says their planned procedure is to empower local community competition councillors with the resolved approach so they can better and collectively fight to protect the unique market of the sub-region. Their strategy, they say, will not only protect the common market but reinforce the integration of the CEMAC sub-region. Commissioner Michel Nyama says they generally agreed and collectively implemented strategies will facilitate the monitoring of issues affecting the unique market of the sub-region. The Community Competition Council, the CCC, is a technical arm of the Economic and Monetary Community of Central African States, CEMAC, charged with the monitoring and handling of issues linked to the CEMAC common market.
The spokesperson of Dr. Goodluck Jonathan has dismissed as fake information that the former president of the Federal Republic of Nigeria will stand for re-election next year. In Rwanda, a former senior official has gone on trial in Paris, France at the age of 78 for complicity in the 1994 genocide. Innocent Azim.
President Goodluck Jonathan will not take part in presidential elections next year, contrary to months of speculation that he was planning to return to national politics. A group of supporters from northern Nigeria bought nomination forms for Goodluck Jonathan to contest in the ruling All Progressive Congress Party (APC) primary elections scheduled for the end of the month. On Monday, Jonathan's spokesperson in a statement said the former president was not aware and did not authorize the purchase of the nomination forms for the primary elections. In Egypt, President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi has called for a political dialogue with opposition forces, raising several questions among Egypt's political circles. He promised to attend the final sessions of the dialogue to be organized by the Ashanti National Youth Conference operating under the umbrella of the National Training Academy, affiliated with the presidency. Abdel Fattah al-Sisi also called for the reactivation of the Presidential Pardon Committee, tasked with reviewing the conditions of political detainees and assessing their release, and whose work has been mostly ineffective since its inception in late 2016. Elsewhere, notably in Rwanda, a former senior Rwandan official has gone on trial in Paris, France on Monday. He is accused of complicity in the African nation's genocide in 1994. The case of Laurent Biusi Baruta is the fourth from the Rwandan genocide to go to court in France, which had long been under pressure from activists to act against suspected perpetrators who had taken refuge on French soil. The 78-year-old, who suffers from health problems, enters the courtroom in a wheelchair and a walking stick in his hand.
And that's it for the first part of this newscast. Talking Point is up next. We're going over to Talking Point right away after the first part of this newscast concluded by this report on news from Nigeria and of course Rwanda. And of course Innocent was talking there about the spokesperson of Nigerian former President Goodluck Jonathan, who was dismissed information that has been circulating over the social media that he was going to stand for re-election next year. And of course the suspect of the Rwandan 1994 genocide, who is standing trial in the Paris. Now meet our guests in Talking Point. Right, I have indications from the other side that there will be no transition. So we are receiving Sylvie Jacqueline Ndokmo, the president or the regional representative of the Women's International League for Peace and Freedom in Africa. And of course, she's joining us. We're going to be discussing issues of national interest. Sylvie Jacqueline Ndokmo, you're welcome.
Thank you so much, Jonathan.
All right, you are the representative of the Women's International League for Peace and Freedom in Africa, notably in the international board. Now, your organization is trying to relieve or alleviate the sufferings of hundreds of thousands of persons, particularly women and children, who have been forced out of their homes by violence in the northwest and southwest regions, and they are seeking refuge in parts of the littoral and the west regions of the country. What's their situation as of now?
Thank you so much. We launched in November 2021 a project entitled Strengthening the Economic and Social Empowerment of Women as a Response to Crisis. We launched it because the project wants to address the priority needs and demand of these women who did not choose to be in a situation in which they are today. The Manual Division is one of the divisions that has a very big number of these women IDPs. And when we conducted a gender conflict analysis in 2019, we were able to see the level of distress of the women in this locality, which is neighboring southwest and northwest. So that's why we have decided to come and support the authorities there in helping these women to be able to stand up if there are issues they are having, and are able to be autonomous. And one of the ways that we thought was very important compared to what we have been doing in the past was to build sustainable peace by giving them the possibility of making fish, of fishing rather than giving them the fish. So that is why, thanks to the La Francophonie avec elle, we started this project, which aims at really enabling these women to be able to be autonomous financially and be able, therefore, to take care of themselves. And we targeted 500 women in for 5 different training sessions. Each training session has 100 women, and they are trained in income-generating activities and also in other theoretical modules. We had in Chang. But in Chang, we had two phases of the training, and instead of having 200 women, we ended up having 240 because the demand is very high. And we trained them in different modules, including aesthetic, decoration, making liquid soap and menthol, smoked fish and sardine, snail and rabbit breeding, and so on, and many others. So it depends on the locality where we find ourselves. After Chang, for example, we went to Fongotongo. And in Fongotongo, contrary to Chang, for example, the women there did not choose, for example, decoration, they did not choose aesthetics. So the modules are totally depending on the area. In Fongotongo, they were more interested in snail and rabbit breeding, for example, in liquid soap, in transformation of cassava because it's an agricultural area, in making blackstone, because they were able to tell us that blackstone is very important because when they go to farm, they might get bitten by snake and so on and so forth. So we have been able up to now to have 4 training sessions with a total of 442 women trained. The last one is in 2 weeks in Penka Michel, which is the last division in the Menua, last subdivision, sorry, in the Menua division. So apart from these income generating activities, we also train them in other theoretical modules, including digital marketing. We want to help them to use the internet to promote and sell their produce. We also teach them planning. How do they plan their businesses? We also train them on environmental management, hygiene and quality. How do they make sure that their product respect the hygiene and the quality and also the environment? And the last module that is taken by the organization WILF Cameroon is the one on social cohesion. Because at the end of the day, what you want are people who are at peace with themselves, who are less angry because of the situation they are in, and who are ready to take peace initiative in their communities. So we come last with the module on social cohesion to engage these women to become peace ambassadors in their community. So that's the state of the project so far.
Initiative is a response to a number of issues, a number of problems that you must have identified as far as these persons who have found themselves in this vulnerable situation is concerned. I want to pick on that last one, the training on social cohesion. That training is responding to which problem? What did you identify as far as the people are concerned, and peace and social cohesion and all of those things, considering the fact that you're coming from a very difficult situation of violence that forced them out of their homes to a new area where they are trying to adapt and stand up again?
Yes, this specific model is responding to the fact that some of these women have strong issues in the host communities. For example, when we were conducting the analysis, we arrived at a village in the Bambutos division. We spoke with the women who told them that they are having issues in the community, the host community. For example, let me take the case of the rent. Some are forced either to have sexual relations with their tenant, yes, with the landlord. If not, they are going to pay a very high amount of for the rent, which is not okay. And some women were saying that it's very difficult for them. And I remember one woman telling us that, Madam, even if my sister do not want to tell you the truth, that's what you have to do, because we don't have money to pay that. And also, some are rejected in the host communities, like go back to your place. Meanwhile, they did not choose to be in this community. So, and sometimes when organizations like us and other organizations, institutions, the government come and also support them, sometimes the people in the host community are angry. They feel that the IDPs are given so much attention and they are not given. So that's why it's very important that social cohesion is promoted. And also, sometimes even the IDPs themselves, because of the frustration, because of the anger, they also have some habits which are not very good, conducive in the environment. So the idea for us is to make them know that they have to work towards building social cohesion. How best can they work with their neighbors, with the host community to ensure that they live together? They work hand in hand. So it's very important. So that's why we engage them to know that apart from being all IDPs, they can be IDP, but also they can also go back in their community with something that they have learned. And while doing that, they should make sure that they live in a very conducive environment and they can be the change maker in those communities. So we want them to become those people who are taking peace initiative, who are responding differently, even from the attacks, because we want them to know that, for example, responding to violence by violence is not a solution. So we want them to bring change in the community. So that's why we first ensure that they have the basic in terms of livelihood before engaging them in this very difficult conversation, because we know that these are the people who are strongly hurt because of the crisis they live in their area.
How far have you gone with these in terms of helping them to get rid of the frustration, the anger, and the disruption in socialization that these persons have suffered? Because these are things which you're highlighting as problems that can be a hindrance to social cohesion and a peaceful stay for them in some of those host communities.
Yes, as I indicated, one of the things that fuel it is the fact that, number one, in the communities, they have almost nothing to eat. On a daily basis, they have to fight to have something to eat. They have no money to take their children to school. They have issue of accommodation, of health, and so on and so forth. So that is why we started by filling this gap. So this training that we are offering, income generating activity, is for them to feel at peace in a way, to get less frustrated, because at least they now have something to take care of their families. I want to give you a testimony. From day one that we started the training in Chang, for example, in January, we have testimony on a daily basis of women who do earn money with doing aesthetic, decoration, and so on, selling fish, mushroom, and so on and so forth. So when you are at peace with yourself, then you are more open to discuss with your neighbors. And then also we are also following up with them about some of the initiatives they have taken in their communities and how they have responded to this. So far, we are still concluding the project in 1 month, but we are keeping in touch with these women to make sure that they are models in the community. It's not easy, but at least you have given them the tools that will at least spare them from some negative thoughts. And now you want them to be engaged. And we can look into that, especially, for example, in the WhatsApp group, because for each training we have a WhatsApp group. Each time somebody writes a message which is not a good message, which is negative, I see in the group other women responding to them to say, but didn't we do the training together? We were taught that we should not respond in this type of way. If you have a problem, we should expose the problem, not react in such a manner. So we are happy to see this type of message. And those who are on social media, even the way they communicate, these are a few, of course, there are a few. The way they communicate is different, but it's a long-term process. And we are following up with them to make sure that they are really the people who were frustrated at one point, but now they have become change makers in their communities.
Right, before we go, quickly, I want to have your reactions to two things. The first is a decision by the Ministry of Secondary Education, and that decision is intended to protect young girls who get pregnant while still in school. And what used to normally happen is that once that occurs, a young student gets pregnant, the student is expelled immediately, private and public schools alike. Now the minister says the student can stay to 26 weeks of pregnancy, and after that goes and is delivered of baby, and the student can come back if everything is okay. What do you think about this?
Yes, my first reaction is to say that pregnancy is not part of a school plan. When you send your child to school, what you expect is not to bring a baby. But at the same time, you cannot send away our children because they have babies. So that's why I feel that the decision of the minister is globally a good decision, in the sense that it gives equal opportunity for both boys and girls to get educated. It fights against discrimination, and it fights against school drops out, and also promote gender equality and stand for the agenda education for all of the year 2000. But I would like to nuance a bit to say that this decision looks to be like a double-edged knife, because if you are not careful, it can be like induce a multiplier effect in the school milieu, and girls will think that they have the go-ahead. So I think the minister should look for ways to add something on engaging the school authorities in taking action, preventive action, through sensitization, through education, and so on and so forth, and also at family level. The minister should also engage parents at this level. So for me, it's a good decision, but we have to be very careful. If not, it can be a double-edged knife.
Was killed earlier today in Bafoussam by unidentified attackers, and the student was on the way back to school and was attacked at an area considered as a place of insecurity in that part of the West Regional Capital, and the student died in the course of the attack, or after that attack.
Yes. I feel so sad as a woman, as a mother, to see this, as a teacher also, because I'm a teacher by profession, to see this recurrent cases of violence in the school milieu. So it's very appalling, and then it calls for a greater reflection on how to address it. It's very important that this issue is addressed at different levels. So that is why I think that peace education, we have always over the years recommended that peace education should be institutionalized in all the schools. So I think this is one of the ways, because when we talk about peace, is non-violence and so on and so forth, it should be localized at different levels as a way of trying to reduce the degree of this alarming phenomenon. But it is really sad indeed, and I want to call on the parents, also the families, because education is not only about the teachers, it's not only about the school authorities, it's a whole package, and the family plays a very important role. So it's very important that family, school, teachers, and everybody really try hard to make this stop, because we are losing children on a daily basis as a result of this increasing violence.
The Jacqueline Dogmo Africa Regional Representative in the Women's International League for Peace and Freedom International Board. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you so much for inviting me. It's a pleasure.
Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for staying with us. That's it for today's edition of the 6 p.m. newscast on Equinoxe Television. In about 20 minutes, Sergio Longotu and his guest will be in your homes with Equinoxe Soir. Stay with us.
Equinoxe Télévision, au-delà de l'image, nous rendons compte.